Welcome to the Norris Group Real Estate Podcast, a show committed to bringing you insights from thought leaders shaping the real estate industry. In each episode, we'll dive into conversations with industry experts and local insiders, all aimed at helping you thrive in an ever-changing real estate market, continuing the legacy that Bruce Norris created, sharing valuable knowledge, and empowering you on your real estate journey. Whether you're a seasoned pro or a newcomer, this is your go-to source for insider tips, market trends, and success strategies. Here's your host, Craig Evans.
Hey guys, welcome back to part 2 with Hannah Kesler. Let's jump right in. All right, well, listen, I want to jump back into it. So I'm not asking you to give it all away, right? Because I want people to learn about what you guys are doing and stuff. But what are some of the tools that you teach in your courses? Give them a broad description, not ask you to teach a course today, right? You have a business. I respect that. But I want our people to understand more than just kind of a ethereal concept. I mean, so give us some broad brush paint strokes of what it is that you teach.
Yeah. And hey, I'll even preface it by saying this. You know, my mentor once told me, he says, Hannah, give your best stuff away for free. And at first I was kind of mad at him when he said that. I'm like, what do you mean get my best stuff away for free? This is amazing stuff. Everyone should be paying for this, right? But when you really switch from that scarcity mindset to the abundance mindset, I'm telling you, it will all come and circle back around to you. And that's what it is. All of my content, when I go out and I speak on stages, I do it for free. No one pays me to go and do this stuff. So to me, because it goes back to a Zig Ziglar quote that my father has taught me at a young age, if you help enough people get what they want, you in return will get what you want. So I would say definitely go to the source of becoming your own banker, but you can also even learn deeper on our website, themoneymultiplier.com. I have my full 90-minute presentation on there, but when I go and I teach on this, I really just get back to the basics of what even is money, because the definition of money is that it's nothing more than just a means of exchange. And people will do things with money all day long that they would never do with things that money buys. I mean, you would never go out there and buy a car or a house and then wait until you're 59 and a half to drive the car or move into the house. That would be stupid and ridiculous, right? But why do people do that with your money? Why are you putting money into a 401k, locking it up until you're age 59 and a half just to avoid the 10% penalty, and then kicking the can down the street just to pay the taxes on the money because the tax is still going to be there? It's stupid. It's ridiculous. It's crazy. But people do it because, again, to bring it full circle back to the community aspect, well, hey, I thought I was doing something good for myself. My parents were doing it. My boss told me it was a good idea. My colleagues and coworkers are all doing this with their money as well. So I really just get back to the basics of what money is and how we're acting and behaving with the money. And then I get into a little bit about money mysteries, where I go through some calculator examples of, hey, is it possible? Can I make money earning at a lower interest rate than what I'm borrowing? Because I'm telling you, people get hung up on rates all day long. And I'm telling you right now, it's not the rate of interest, it's the volume of the interest that's killing us. And so we just really need to understand how money works in that manner. And then I get into how to get all the money back for the purchases. And in my live talks, I do it with a car example because everybody just understands cars. We've all bought in cars, driven cars, ridden in cars, but it's not just for cars. My first ever purchase when I was 19 was this MacBook computer that I still use to this day. I mean, these suckers are like $2,500, they're expensive.
Right.
And that's what I did. My first purchase was this MacBook. And from there, just kept elevating, making greater purchases for myself. That van that we talked about earlier, I financed it through my whole life policies.
Really?
Yeah.
So what do you think is the favorite tool that you teach? What do you think is the favorite one for you?
The favorite one, I'll answer it in this manner. The favorite purchase that I've ever made within my policies, because I'll always say the tool is definitely my whole life policies, because that's really the foundation to everything that I do within my financial life. All of my money runs through my policies first. And I got 8 of these things. And so everything runs through my policies first. And then from the policies, I buy my real estate. I go take my vacations. I pay my taxes, pay the health insurance bill. And it kind of really stems from top of that foundation. But I would say on a personal level, my favorite purchase is either the condo I'm sitting in right now or the van. But from a community level, every year I actually have a foundation, and I have a policy specifically for my Speaking Life Foundation, and I will donate to various charities and 501c3s that I believe in and that I love. And I do that through my policies, because then I'm able to give more and more and more every single year. The biggest one that I just did this past year was to a dog service that's local here in the Orlando area. And now her and I, the gal who runs it, we're great friends now. I love to see what she's doing out there with the dog support and the helping train them in the disability center, that the sight seeing dog and different things. But I would say that those are probably my most favorite.
So when you've talked several times, and I want you to kind of clarify this for our listeners, you talked several times about pay yourself first. Walk our people through what you mean by that.
Yeah. So in totally disregarding the policies out of it, you should be paying yourself first. And I know we've all heard of that before, but do we really do it? No. So my challenge is that when you are looking at your cash flow, and that's another thing, y'all, look at what you're doing on a monthly basis. I know it can sometimes be a chore, and I know we don't like to hear the word budgeting, and that's where I've been kind of on like a little adventure here recently. I'm like, I'm going to find another word for budgeting. And I actually personally use an app in my personal finances. It's called Rocket Money. I love Rocket Money. I pay them $5 a month, and I have all my credit cards, my bank accounts hooked up to it, and it tracks my income and my expenses. So I just do it on an automatic basis. But even if you don't want to get that app, every month just sit down and almost like write a T-chart, okay? T-chart. And on the left-hand side, have your income, all the sources of income. Even include that check in the mail from grandma for your birthday. Doesn't matter. Add all of the sources of income. And then on the right-hand side, list out your expenses and get honest with yourself, because seriously, no one's going to care about your financial life more than what you do. So list out all of those expenses. And then what I would add right above, even like the mortgage payment, the first payment underneath your expenses should say, pay myself first. And my suggestion is I would take anywhere from 10 to 15% of what you are making and bringing in as income. And that should be the first thing that you do, is pay yourself first, and then go pay all the other expenses, the house people, the car people, Bobby's soccer practice, Susie's piano lessons, right? And then now you're paying yourself first, instead of doing it the opposite way, how most of us Americans do it now, is we go pay everybody else first, and then we hope that there's some left over for us. And it's like, guys, stop that. Treat yourself as your number one asset. Pay yourself first, and then go pay everybody else next. And last point I'll make on that is have like a separate segregated checking account. Don't just keep it within your main account of where you get paid at. Really move it into a separate segregated account. Pay yourself first, and then go pay all of the other bills. And then I would even add, that's the monies that I then start taking, and that's the premiums that I'm paying inside of my policies. That's my glorified savings account, are my policies.
Okay. So does this system work for anybody? I mean, can they start? I know you talked about earlier, you were starting with $400, right? But so how much money does somebody need to get into a system like this and start working?
Yeah. I always make the joke, if you stand in front of a mirror and when you breathe and you fog it up, you can do this. But in all seriousness, no, I will say, if you are the type of person that you are spending more than what you make, no. I mean, I get phone calls sometimes that they think that infinite banking can solve all of their problems. And it's like, hey, you kind of have a shopping habit. You need to go and correct that before you start this stuff. So it's for the people that are really keeping money at the end of the month. And it doesn't matter. I have people who do as minimum as $50 a month into a policy, all the way up to $520,000 a month. So you just pick a number in between then of where you want to start, because you get to decide how much premium you want to put inside of your policy.
So, Hannah, teaching is something, I mean, it's a passion for me. It's one of the favorite things. I own 5 businesses and a lot of stuff that we do, but teaching is one of my favorite things that I get to do in my life, whether that's speaking, it's real estate seminars, I own a private equity fund, right? Whether whether I'm teaching on our fund and what that's doing, or teaching youth at my church, right? It doesn't matter. I love teaching. I'm anxious to hear, what do you think with what you do and what you're teaching? What's the most impactful story that you've heard that one of your students has told you, things like that?
Yeah. Actually, the first one that comes to my mind, there's probably more, but the first one that comes to my mind is in February of this year, we were at an event and these 2 guys from South Africa come up to me and they say, Hannah, you don't even know me because I'm working with some other folks on your team, but I've been following you on social media. I follow your podcast show, the Money Multiplier podcast. I've been watching you on YouTube. You have completely changed our family's financial life. And the only reason I'm here today is because of you and your dad. And that's what keeps me going day after day, is hearing those stories and how much it's totally impacted them in their own family empire. They were able to pay off the debt. They were able to now pivot the monies that they did have in their retirement accounts. They're able to use the money today, use the good dollars today, create themselves cash flowing assets. So then they're not having to work a 9-to-5 corporate job. They can really take back that time freedom, and then they're able to hang out with their families, go do other charitable things. If they want to go work at the soup kitchen or down feeding the homeless for that day, right? So those are my favorite stories when people come up to me and just say, you don't know me, but I know you, and I just want to tell you how much you've impacted my life.
As you're going through, as you're out talking to people, things like that, again, I think one of the things that's most interesting to me, and I'm going to have both of my daughters listen to this because I want them to hear your story out of it, that you recently wrote a book. and so tell us a little bit, what's it about? How was that process for you? Was it fun? Was it hard? Give our listeners some of that info.
Yes. So, and now, I don't know if I even told you this yet, Craig, but now I have 2 books out.
I did not know that.
I would say the first book was hard, okay? And I'm telling you, because you got to get deep and you got to get honest with yourself, especially if it's like an autobiography. You got to go through some personal demons, right? And there's even stories in the back of my brain that I even crossed out, blacked out in my mind because of how embarrassed I felt about it. So that one I wrote in a 2-week time frame. And I'll be honest, that one really wasn't so much of a passion project. I did the Single Millionaire Chick more for television appearances, okay? Because on TV, you got to drive them somewhere, right? You want them to learn more about you, learn more about your story. And so with that book, it was definitely difficult because I had to go and work through some demons, and I did it over December. It's just in December of 2024, not too long ago. And it was published, not hard copy published, but it's on Amazon on Kindle version. of wanting that to then for my TV appearances, that now I'm up to the point I've done 16 live TV appearances with it. But really the big passion project, it's this book right here called The Companion, and it's a children's book. And this book, I would say it's good for children from the ages of 2 to 6 to 8. And this really came about because I did a podcast episode kind of using like analogies. Like I set it up in like a mystical land and almost like the medieval time, we'll call it. And like your shield was your policy and your sword is your policy loans. And what we want to go do is slay the dragons, which is market volatility, government intervention. And my business partner, Chris Noggle, calls me up and he says, Hannah, this is great. You know what we should really do is we should write a children's book about this topic. And so The Companion, it doesn't specifically say anything about policies or money, anything like that. If you're like a fan of Shel Silverstein, you'll enjoy this book because it, like The Giving Tree, it really leaves an impactful impression to young children's minds that if I keep taking and taking and taking and I don't replenish or give the companion this love, the respect, the attention that it needs and deserves, it's not going to be there to help support me when I need that time of the support. So this one actually just launched last month in April, and that one has been a big, big passion project of mine. So with my Single Millionaire Chick book, I'm still writing it. You'll notice at the very end of it, I say, hey, as the course of 2025 goes on, I'm going to keep adding more to this as I learn and evolve this year. And then I'll be officially publishing hard copies in January of 2026 is my goal.
So The Companion, where can people get that?
Companionbook.com.
I want to go back to family a little bit. You've talked about that you worked with your dad. You worked with him a lot. You guys are kind of in business together through what you're doing. And what does it mean for you now to work with your dad alongside him?
It's an honor. I'll say at first, though, I've always made this joke. You did not want to see what happened behind closed doors. Because I'm like, Dad, even though I'm your daughter, you would not be saying that to another employee on the team in the manner that you're saying it, right?
Right.
And he's harder on me because of it, because he knows my full potential. Just like you and your children, you know their full potential. And if you see that they're only given 70%, 80%, you're like, no, I'm going to push you harder. I know you can give that 100, so go and let's do it together. And there were times he made me cry and sob. And anybody in my family, I have a younger brother and an older brother, we've all gotten fired from the family business at least once. I got fired from the chiropractic office. My brother is a pilot. He got fired from being our pilot. Now he flies for NetJets. And you have to go through those times, because if you are, to the listeners, in business with your family, this is what the words that we use. I have my business hat on, or I have my daughter hat on. And so sometimes we'll be sitting down having dinner together and Dad wants to talk to me about business stuff. I said, Dad, I have my daughter hat on right now. I don't want to talk about business stuff. We'll talk about that during business hours starting tomorrow. Right. And I got to have those clear boundaries with it, because if you don't, and it's not so much a work-life balance, it's a work-life integration. And you got to be strategic with how you integrate both of those areas of your life. But when you do find that good working relationship, it's better than ever. And I get people come up to me and say, that is so amazing that you work with your dad. I wish my kids were in this business with me as well. And trust me, I think it was God who put us here together doing this. But I don't know what I would be doing if Dad didn't really take me under his wing and teach me a lot of the stuff that he knows. And I understand now how powerful it is, because let's just be real. We are not taught money whatsoever. And I used to say that Dad was an arrogant a-hole when he used to say this. He says, Hannah, money's not everything, but it's pretty darn close up there next to oxygen. I said, okay, yeah, Dad. But I get it now because it's simply just a tool that I can use to fulfill my purpose, my passion, and then also give to other people so they can fulfill their life, their purpose, their passions as well. It's just simply a tool that we can use to get us there. And that's why I think we just have this burning passion just to teach people how money really works. Because if we're not out here doing it, trust me, I graduated high school in 2017. I didn't know how to write a check when I graduated high school. They don't teach you anything about money. And I think there's a reason for it, but that's a whole other discussion for another time. But
Well, and that's so interesting because that's a passion of ours. And what we do is educating on that. When my wife and I got married, she was 25. I had to think there for a second. She was 25 when we got married, and I never forget. We came home from our honeymoon, and we're going to. I had to go back to work. At that time, I was in a different industry, and I was going back into the office, and I told her, I said, "Hey, listen." On the way out the door, I said, "If you can, the mortgage needs to be paid today. Can you just write the check and get that in the mail?" And she's like, "Yep, sure, no problem." She didn't want to say anything. Well, she calls me about 2 minutes later, and she says, "How do I write a check?" She'd literally never written a check. And of course I was dumbfounded. I didn't know what to say. And so, I taught her and so, I quickly learned that, hey, listen, that was the life she grew up in. And that's not faulting her family. That was the way her dad just said, well, I'll do it for you. Right. But that didn't teach her how to be a strong woman. Right. And so that was one of the things that we quickly worked on, is rectifying her understanding of finance and what that looks like and what that tool can mean. And sure, paying bills and all those things, but now she understands this world. And that was a huge eye-opening thing that even for us as parents, we didn't want our children to grow up not knowing how to write a check or how to make change or what does money really mean,
Yes.
So, well,
And
listen,
I applaud you. That's amazing, Craig. And
Well-
congrats on everything within the family too. That it's powerful. It's beautiful to hear.
well, it's fun. I mean, I always brag on my kids, but my youngest is actually started her own business now. She's 16. She's a junior in high school. She started her own business. She has employees working for her. Her friends at school work for her now. So it's fun to see. She's kind of, I started my first business when I was 12. And later that year I had 7 employees. And so now seeing her as a 16-year-old kind of following in some of those steps and loving the idea of business. But as you talked about, so much of what we do in business is, I recognize that our business is about, is people.
Yeah.
And I can't scale business by myself. I have to have people. And that's what's interesting is at 16, she's already seeing that. So she's investing in her friends and helping them, just as you said, she's helping them get what they want, which in essence helps her get what she wants, And it's so fun to watch my 16-year-old now literally making 4 and 5 times even than their other friends that have jobs. And she works about 4 hours a week. It's super fun to watch her and to see her in those environments. So, but anyway, listen, I'll go on about my kids all day, but this show is about you. So I don't want to digress. So,
I'll even just add one more point to that.
Yeah.
Get us connected, because that's a big passion of mine. The Gen Zs. I just learned, I guess the new generation is called Alpha that's coming out.
Yeah, I was made aware of that a few weeks ago, Dad, when it's not Gen Z now.
I know. So the Gen Zs, the millennials, this alpha group that's outgoing, that's really where, if any support that I can do, please holler at me. I just want to be there and whatever I can do.
Well, I will say, I think after this, I would love to further communication with you, because I think there's some things that you and I could do together through education to really bring awareness to this crisis that I view as the generations. As an interesting stat, the 80% of the wealth that people create will be lost by their kids' age.
Yeah.
92% of the wealth that's created, and that fixture, that number fluctuates. Some people say it's 92, 95%, things like that. But 92 to 95% of the wealth that people create will be lost by their grandkids' age. Right? And it's literally the aspect that we are raising a culture of people that don't understand how to manage the tools, as you said, that they're given. And money is that tool, right? That's one of the tools. So I love what you're doing. I'm so excited to hopefully do more stuff with you in the future. I'll be excited to have those conversations. But again, I don't want to distract today because this is about you. This is about the money multiplier. I want to be a champion to get your voice out there for you. So in that process with the multiplier, how can our listeners connect with the money multiplier? You got any, upcoming events, live events, where are they at? Give us the skinny on that.
Yes, yeah, yeah. So actually, every year I do a live mastermind event for all of our clients. I mean, just honestly, I open the door to our clients first. If we don't sell it out, then I'll open it to the public. But it's called the Money Multiplier Mastermind. And I'm kind of doing it in a framework because right now I know people are scared. The markets are down, real estate is down. And I want people to really thrive in these uncertain times because you can, if you have the right mindset, the tools, the mentors, the systems behind you, you can do it. I'll tell you, my dad opened his first chiropractic office in 2008. Okay. You can do it. So it's going to be in Denver, Colorado this year because, yes, I hear you, my West Coast people. They get a little mad at me because they're like, you never come see us over here. So I'm doing it in Denver this year. And it's October 9, 10, and 11. And you can go to themoneymultiplier.com/mastermind 2025. And registration will open sometime in June. I want to say it's June 10th when registration will open. But we have that live event coming up. I just started one actually this year. We just had it in Tampa at the beginning of March. And we call it Money Game Live. And this is really where we master the money game. I had my real estate mentors come out. If you haven't dove into the whole world of velocity banking using home equity lines of credit, that's a cool world. So I had my guy come out, residential assisted living, if you're familiar with Isabel Garino and her father, Gene, but the RAL community. So Money Game Live will come back in March of 2026. I think I'll do that again. People seem to love it. But other than that, on our website, themoneymultiplier.com, we have an events calendar. It has all of our virtual events because we host anywhere from 6 to 7 live virtual events weekly, all free. And then all of the events that I'm speaking around the country. So, and then you can always send me an email directly. It's my name, Hannah, spelled the same way, forwards and backwards, Hannah at themoneymultiplier.com.
I cannot thank you enough for the time you've given, but if you can do me one favor, I always want to focus on brand new investors. Just as the last kind of parting shot, what's the one best piece of advice within the systems that you teach and what you use that you would give to brand new investors?
Brand new investors, what I would say is track your stats. Kind of already talked about that. Track your stats being number one. Pay yourself first being number two. Number three, once all of the bad debts are paid off and you got the control back within your hands, you should maybe look into private lending. But here's my biggest piece of advice. Always have the collateral. And if you're not first, you're last. Okay. That's what I would really just encourage. And then I also would, don't take everything at face value. Go and think for yourself and question.
Yes.
And just look into the infinite banking concept. I truly would, because it's been around for over 200 plus years. I mean, this is what the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, the Morgans, the Stanleys, the Barclays, this is all how they understood money and how to keep the money within the family. Because, Craig, I wanted to tell you this earlier, but I'm going to tell you it now. a lot of people, we see that generational wealth is depleted within about 3 generations, because the first generation is the one that builds up all of the wealth. The second generation sees how hard the first generation worked, so they're the ones keeping it going. But then the third generation just kind of reaps all the benefits, and then they're the ones that kind of just deplete it. So we got to keep furthering the knowledge and bring money and that money topic around the kitchen table. Stop making it such a taboo subject. So anyways, I'm off my soapbox.
I love it. I love it. Hannah, I can't thank you enough for giving your time, your energies, your talents, everything that you do, pouring into our listeners. I hope that you will have a blessed day. Thank you so much. Check out moneymultiplier.com. Buy her books, support what they do. It's a great process. Hannah, again, thank you so much.
Bye, everyone.
For more information on hard money loans, trust deed investing, and upcoming events with the Norris Group, check out thenorrisgroup.com. For more information on passive investing through the DBL Capital Real Estate Investment Fund, please visit dblcapital.com.
The Norris Group originates and services loans in California and Florida under the California DRE license 01219911, Florida Mortgage Lender license 1577, and NMLS license 1623669. For more information on hard money lending, go to thenorrisgroup.com and click the hard money tab.